Let's take a look at a few examples from this lesson. So first, let's take a look at an example where we're trying to write the expression using exponents. So it's just a way to kind of clean things up. I'm not going to evaluate it and get an answer, but I just want to actually write it in a simplified expression. So I'm looking at my problem and I can see I have 3 2's here. And 3 3's. So when I go to shorten this, I want to look at, okay, let's make 2 my common factor at the base and figure out how many 2's I'm multiplying to create my exponent. Well, I have 3 2's, so my exponent is going to be a 3. They're all still being multiplied, so I'm going to put a multiplication symbol there. And then when I look at the 3's, again, 3 is my common factor, so that's going to be my base. And I have 3 3's that I'm multiplying. So in this case, my exponents end up being the same thing. But it's 2 to the third power times 3 to the third power. And I'm going to leave my answer just like that. I'm not going to take it any further because I'm just writing the expression. I'm not evaluating. So this is one way. My factors, my 2's and 3's, were already grouped together. But if they were all mixed up, you would want to regroup them first and then figure out what your bases are and how many of each you have. Alright, so here's another example. And this is an example looking at some bases where they're not really grouped together yet. So we have some r's and some s's for our variables. So first thing I want to do is regroup all of these r's together and regroup the s's together. So when I regroup the r's, I'm just putting them in a line next to each other, and then I'm going to put the s's together. Now I'm going to go through and figure out how many r's I have as my common base and how many s's I have as a common base. So when I go through and count the r's, I should have 5, which means I'm multiplying r by itself 5 times. And for s's, there are 3. So the exponent on the s is going to be 3. So my simplified expression using exponents would be r to the 5th power times s to the 3rd power. And we'd be done. Remember, we're not evaluating. We're not trying to get a value for this answer. We're just simplifying it into that expression. Alright, our next examples are going to be evaluating. So the directions would say evaluate this expression or something similar. So let's start with number 3. This is negative 4 to the 4th power. Now remember that those parentheses are very important when we're looking at trying to multiply with our exponents and create a base. So this is telling us we're going to take negative 4 and multiply it by itself 4 times. So now I have a problem that looks like this, which is really just that repeated multiplication, where I'm going to do negative 4 times negative 4 4 times. So when I multiply these all together, you can do it a few different ways. You can just go through and multiply them straight through. You can group them together and multiply them that way. So negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. So now I'm just going to do 16 times 16 as my final answer, which gives us 256. So remember, we were evaluating, so we did want to actually get a final answer, final value for our problem. And that would be it for number 3. Number 4 has a fraction inside as a base, which again, whatever's inside parentheses or whatever your base is, it just means multiply that, whether it's a fraction, a decimal, a negative number, multiply that however many times the exponent is telling you to. So if I were to rewrite this, it's going to be 1/7 times 1/7 times 1/7. So when we're multiplying fractions together, what we're really doing is multiplying all of our numerators together. So 1 times 1 times 1. and then all the denominators, 7 times 7 times 7. So on the top, the numerator becomes 1, and the denominator becomes 343. 7 times 7 times 7 is 343. So our answer would be 1 over 343. Alright, and I have one more example. Now we're going to evaluate an expression. So we're having some variables, we need to evaluate them by substituting in the values for x and y. So this says x squared plus y all to the third power if x equals 2 and y equals 10. So instead of the x, wherever I see an x, I'm going to write a 2. And wherever I see a y, I'm going to write a 10. Okay, that's what this is telling me over here. So the only thing I did was substitute x for 2, or 2 for x, and 10 for y. Now I'm going to work through my order of operations. So in this case, I want to focus on my parentheses, which in this case inside I have a few things to work through. I have an exponent and addition, so I'm going to do my exponent first. So 2 to the second power is 2 times 2, or 4. And then my next step inside parentheses is to add the 4 and the 10. So I end up with 14 inside parentheses. And then after that, I only really have one operation left. So you could leave those parentheses out if you want, since it's just a number, but I'm going to leave them there for now. And we end up with 14 to the third power. So kind of a large number to be multiplying. And again, remember, 14 to the third power just means 14 times 14 times 14. Okay, and that gives us 2,744. And that would be our final answer. So that this video, these last few examples, kind of gives you an idea of some extra problems that we were working through in this lesson. So if you have more questions or you need some more help with this, make sure you stop in for office hour help.